Hello and welcome to a webinar of OpenLM. I am Sagi. I will be your host and we will go over how to harvest licenses using OpenLM and basically cut those idle licenses short. Now, what does that mean? That means someone got a license but is not actually using it. That means he's on the browser, he's on a meeting, he went home, doesn't matter. So you can get that license, which is not doing anything at the moment, and harvest it back into the license pool. That means it will now be available for other people to use. So you boost the availability of that license. For example, you might have a lot of users always getting denied. You might have like 10 licenses. You know it's not enough, but this is what you have. And people are always calling you up, hey, I'm getting denied, what's going on? Well, instead of buying more licenses, you can implement license harvesting. And the licenses that you do have will be more available more of the time to more users. Thus, you won't have these cases where you just can't get a license. Now, how is this done? How do we know if a user is actually using an application or not? Well, we have a component called the OpenLM Agent. It can be installed on the workstation itself. And provided that you have active agent extension and actual usage extension, you can track that idle time and harvest that idle user. So that agent component, which is installed on the workstation itself, it monitors those processes. If it goes over a certain threshold, that means the CPU usage, memory usage, writing and reading from the disk. If it goes up, then the agent knows currently the guy is using it, is using the application. Or maybe the application is using itself. It's doing some simulation, some emulation. So it's being used. The agent knows that. But once it drops below that threshold, the agent knows the user is currently idling. That application is currently idling. That means the license can be used for someone else. So what we can do is implement active agent. We have a few options for active agent. Active agent is just an umbrella term for a few processes which can take place depending on the application. So if you have Autodesk, MATLAB, ArcGIS, SolidWorks, Harmony, and we added two more, Kingdom, Harmony, and one more, I don't remember which one, you can do save and close. Now, what does that mean and how does it work? Basically, the OpenLM server will tell the agent to talk to the API of the application itself and asks it to please close, save and close the work. Basically, it's an API that we developed code for that API, meaning that we only have a limited amount of applications which we developed a relevant API for, which the agent can talk to. But what it can allow you to do is actually save the work and close the application in a very graceful manner coming from the application itself. But let's say that it's not one of those applications. Let's say it's NX, for example. It's any other FlexLM application. Any FlexLM managed application can basically be used with the suspend resume. Now, instead of closing the application, it will just suspend the application. And once the application is suspended, the license gets retracted back into the license pool. So basically, the agent stops the process, tells the server to tell the broker to get the license back. So you just grab the license back into the pool for other people to use while this process is frozen. Once the user wants to unfreeze the processes and continue working, he just clicks a button. And if there's a license available, the same dance will happen, but in the other way, to give the user a license and unfreeze his application. So this is why we call it suspend resume. We suspend the application on the end user workstation, and when he's back, he can resume. Now, this is basically how it goes. Now, you might have licensed servers. On them, you have vendors. Now, each vendor will supply licenses to the workstations for them to work. So in order to have this whole active agent extension work, you'll need the OpenLM agent on the workstations. And you will need the OpenLM broker on the license server. Because in case we need to do suspend resume, we need to make sure that the broker will be able to do an LM remove command. This is basically what it does. If you know what this is, basically goes to the license manager and asks it with its own syntax to remove that specific license. So these components, all the brokers and all the agents, everything will transmit information to a single source, your OpenLM server, where of course you have the interface and the display of everything. Now, let's talk about applications which OpenLM does not monitor, or they're not using a license manager that we monitor. Maybe they're not using a license manager at all. They're Adobe, Microsoft, or I don't know, any other application. And you want to monitor the usage and the idle usage as well. So for that, we have the Unmanaged Processes extension. Works the same way, it has the actual usage, which tracks the idle time of that process. But how it works, instead of incorporating the license manager here, basically it will either kill or suspend the process, or you can run a CMD command on the end user workstation. So you can pop up a message, send him an email, whatever you'd like. It's a command prompt. It's a command script. Now, you'll both get active management, meaning that you'll be able to kill the application if it's idling for too long or run some kind of script, but you'll also be able to get the usage itself. So how well they're using it, if they're using it, maybe they're just opening up the application for the whole day, but never ever used it. So you got a named license for that user. He opened up the application, but is not actually using that named license. So maybe he doesn't need it. Or maybe I can just give him a floating license instead, put him in the floating license pool. He barely uses it. Allowing you to understand exactly what's going on in your system, who's using the applications and who is misusing them. So for unmanaged processes, you just need the agent because of course you don't have a licensed server. It just tracks the processes running on the workstation. So let's go and see a live example. I have ArcGIS here. Now, what I'm going to do is go to my workstation. And I'm going to open up ArcMap. Now it's going to grab a license from the license manager. open up the application, start the process. But I have a component called the OpenLM Agent. Whoops. I have a component here installed on my workstation called the OpenLM Agent. So this one right here actually reports data from my workstation to OpenLM server. So what does it report? Now I'm going to let that application idle and I'm going to show you under the hood. Basically what it does, it finds out that process and how much RAM it's taken, how much memory it's taken, CPU, everything. So for example, if I select this one, and let's say that I need this one. I want to do it for ArcMap. So this is what the agent is looking at, basically. If I open up the application, I play around with it, you see that it rises. The usage rises. Doesn't matter if I'm touching it, doesn't matter if the application itself is running some simulation. You see, it has ebbs and flows while I'm working. But if I'm not touching it, if it's in the background, if it's, I don't know, here, if it's minimized, doesn't matter. You see that it drops to its idle state. Now this is tracked by the agent. The agent knows that. So this is then reported back to the OpenLM server itself. So right here, scrolling to the right, you'll be able to see in a few minutes, we'll be able to see the idle time of that application. It will show us when we were idle, when we were active. So taking a look at one license activity report of a closed session, we can see an example here of me using an application, using ArcView. Scrolling to the right, I see that I was actually idle for like 4 minutes. Looking at my activity, I see that I was active, idle, active, idle, active. Probably because I was doing some kind of presentation and I was going idle to present the closures. So not only do you get it in current activity, so for example, someone is calling you up, you open up the list, and he says, hey, I can't get a license. You open up the list, you see, hey, this guy is idling for an hour now. Well, you can call him up. Maybe he can close the application. Maybe you can release the license, whatever you close the workstation itself, whatever it is that you do. Or you can rely on the agent to close his application. So either manually, just by clicking this button, or by setting different parameters in OpenLM and defining that if it goes over a certain threshold, only then release the license. What I mean is this. This is a very good functionality because let's say you have 100 licenses. So it's currently 99% used. Well, people are about to get denied. So you need to start releasing licenses, yes, but whose licenses should you release? You can't release someone's who's using, no. Release a license for anybody who has 60 minutes of idle time, or I don't know, 2 hours of idle time currently. So currently is not on the workstation and I need licenses. Well, just release those idle licenses. And you can set that here, or you could just go with, I don't care about the percentage. If someone is idling for 1 hour, just get his license back. I don't care. So whatever you define. In any case, you get this reported right here, which we can see 3 minutes idle. Clicking here, we see I was active and then boom, idle, just started talking. And basically, we're gonna let it wait to automatically close my application. Now, once it will close my application, it will of course save my work. Now, let's say that it's a new project. There's nothing to save yet. Well, it will save it into a temp folder where when the client clicks resume and opens up the session again, it will open up the same project. Even if they didn't save it beforehand, the OpenLM system saves it to a temp folder. All right, so let's give it a closure. Oh, yeah, it's already happened. Coming here, we see that I get a message, OpenLM Agent recently closed ArcMap. Now with this document. I want to go back. Let's say I went to a meeting and it was like half an hour, something like that. I'm back to work on my project. Oh, wait, what's happening? Oh, it closed my application. I just click open and I'll get that license. If I have a license, I'll get it back and I'll get the same session started from scratch. But the project, of course, has been saved. In the case of suspend resume, we don't care about saving the project because it just suspends the application. It doesn't close it. All right, so there's one last thing I want to show you before I go to the Q&A section. Now, keep in mind, you can ask anything. You got the chat box and the Q&A box. I'm not sure what the difference between them, but you can use both. I'll be happy to answer any question you might have. But first, I want to show you something else that you can also do. Is instead of closing the application, you can just notify the user. For example, I would like to pop up a message. So I can run a CMD script on his workstation automatically, which will pop up a message regarding the idle time. So if I set that up for ArcMap, instead of him getting his application closed or suspended, the application can keep going, but he can get a message or any script that you define, of course. Script to send an email to that guy, script to pop up a message, any script you can think of. All right, so let's go over to the Q&A section. So SAS agent support, Linux agent support. Eric Wanta, hey Eric. So I am glad to say that Linux support for the agent is in. We have Linux support for the latest version, but it's for on-premise. As for SAS agent, it is still in the works, but I don't think it's going to take long because we already have it pretty much sorted out for the on-premise. I'm not sure it's going to take too long for the cloud-based agent to be there. But yeah, it's in the works. It's currently, I believe, we added just today or yesterday roles and permissions to SAS, to the cloud. So just know if you go to the administration, to roles, you should be able to now set different roles to different users. Also, we added the Active Directory synchronization to the cloud, but SAS agent SAS is still in development. Okay, Dirk. Hey, Dirk. Some of my colleagues using ArcGIS on a notebook. Sometimes they just close their notebook and put it to sleep without closing ArcGIS. Well, when does this? I get no chest to harvest a license by OpenLM. Is there a way to do that? Yes, there is a way to do that indeed. So let's see if I closed it. One moment. Let me open up ArcMap again. So I'm not sure we're going to see it now, but after like 5 minutes, FlexLM gives us the grace of like 5 minutes. You can do a remove license. Because if he closed his PC or put it to sleep or something, that means the application is currently not working and will not request a license every minute. That means you can go to the currently consumed licenses here and run the remove license command. That will, on the one side, remove the license and put it in the license manager. On the other side, the workstation will not be requesting that license back. When the user opens up the notebook again, then it's not going to have any issues if there's a license, because he opens it up, the application goes out, asks for a license. If it gets licensed, then good. If no license, it just stops. It says to the user, you got no license, I can't work, of course. So let's take a look at my session. And yeah, not yet. Takes about 5 minutes. I think it's a grace by FlexLM. All right. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. That was the last question I see. Oh, there is another one. How about other vendor application like Schlumberger, Petrel? Does Agent support them? Yes, so Schlumberger and Petrel both are FlexLM based. You can either implement the custom commands, the agent kill, or suspend resume. Yeah, basically all FlexLM applications are supported for suspend resume. But for save and closed, it's only saved for a few applications. Now, if we're talking about the agent kill and the custom command, that's for everything, right? Any type of application, doesn't matter. All right, so I am going to give you a freebie. One thing that you didn't know that you have, you can tell the idle time of the workstation already out of the box. It's already in OpenLM. If you have OpenLM, you have it. Probably didn't know it. If you spread out the agents on the workstations themselves, then you as an admin will be able to go here to workstations and see the workstation idle time. Now, this is not the application idle time. This is the workstation idle time. And this comes out of the box. So if you go out now, download from OpenLM website, go to the download section, download agent, put it on a workstation, point it to OpenLM server, boom, you got it. That's it. That's everything that you need to do. Now, that's a freebie for me. Now, one thing that the agent also gives the end users, just for you to know, is this license usage information. I'm an end user. I need a license. Instead of just trying to click it and see what's going on and why am I not getting a license, I can come here, see the application I need. I need this mechanical and sys. 3 are used. I got 4. I got 1 available. Cool. I can get the license. I can open it up with no worries. But let's say it's 4 out of 4. I got no licenses. Well, I can click it and see who's using it. So the admin can define what I can see. So if I can see everything or not, but this depends on the role that I'm assigned to. So it's one reason for the users to have it on the workstation and one reason for you to have it on their workstations to grab user-based idle time. All right, guys, then I guess that's it. If nobody has any more questions, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you joining this webinar. I really hope that you learned something new. Maybe you got something out of this webinar. If you have any questions, issues, anything, just go to the OpenLM website. Under About Us, Contact Us. We have emails right here, phone numbers all across the world. And the fastest way to reach us is clicking here. And you can reach us via chat. Now, this is the fastest way. You get an answer right away. All right, so thank you guys. Have a great day. Bye.